Welcome back to the channel. My name is Wong, and you're joining me to yet another week here in lockdown in Australia. Still stuck in the apartment garage, but hey, more time to make epic videos, right? So let's get into it. I often talk about just how great these old Honda Civics are and just how much I love them. There are literally hundreds of reasons as to why I think they're fantastic driver's cars and the type of vehicle that is fun to drive and also very affordable. And I've made so many videos about just that here on the channel. However, unbeknownst to that and many others out there, there's actually many hidden gremlins in owning a car like this, and you could potentially be buying into a never-ending can of worms. And for a vehicle that's just so old, there's a bunch of things that could possibly go wrong, and that's really undesirable to have in a car or to have in any car really. So in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into some of the problems associated with owning a 25-year-old Honda Civic. So full disclosure before I get any anti-Honda comments on this video, but as you guys can see, I'm definitely not a hater of Hondas. I actually love them, and I've got two of them out here today. This is my 1992 Honda Civic EG K-Swap, and this is my 1996 Honda Civic EK4 VTIR or SIR if you prefer. If you haven't seen the previous review video for this car, please go back and check it out. Or if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome. This is my new budget build project car, and in today's video, we're gonna go over the long-awaited, in-depth, thorough look at this car. And honestly, it's gonna be the perfect subject for this video, as it's gonna highlight many of the problems associated with owning an old Honda Civic. So before we get started, if you guys are enjoying this type of content, you wanna see more of my builds, car reviews, and epic automotive related content here on YouTube, consider subscribing to the channel. And let's get straight into it, guys. So the first problem that you're gonna come across when buying one of these old Honda Civics is most definitely the paint condition, and you're gonna be able to spot it straight away. This EK4 is 25 years old in 2021. My EG is 29 years old. So they're very old cars, and usually they've been used as daily drivers for commuters to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So they're not really well looked after. They don't usually get washed. They're normally parked outside in the rain and in the elements. So the paint condition is really gonna suffer as a result of that. And having a look at this car, it's definitely had a respray before because the door moldings and the front moldings are body colored. However, from factory, they're actually black. So this car has definitely had a respray before. I definitely wouldn't say it's been done properly. But most of these cars being so old, the paint condition honestly just isn't that great. And this is the perfect example of that, because on the bonnet here, you can see definitely a lot of paint fade. There's a few dents from hailstones, shopping trolleys. Honestly, it could be anything. At the front bumper here, there's a few marks, chips. Same here on the guards. It's what you would expect from a car of this age. And then when you get to the top, that's where all of the flaws lie in terms of the paint condition. You can really see everything there is to it about the car on the roof. So there's just bucket loads of paint fade over the entire roof. However, the door trims, the rubber trims, they're still really nice and intact. However, you do have to be careful because with all of these trims, it tends to seep water into the areas and it could potentially rust out. This car has a very slight amount of rust here on the window trim, but it's not too much and it's definitely fixable. But you definitely have to make note that rust could be a potential issue for one of these cars, especially if you live in a country where it snows and they put salt on the roads. That could potentially be a lot worse, especially underneath the car and where the spare tire is. So be careful on that aspect. However, if we keep looking around this car, the door here is nice and clean. There's definitely the door dents that you would expect from the owner opening it and smacking it into other cars or walls. I don't know how this car was looked after, but you can definitely see some wear and tear out here. And there's this sticky, rubbery kind of feeling here. I don't know what that is. It's even here on the front guard, but hopefully I can get that out with a good cut and polish. At the back here, it's kind of like the front. There's just scratches on the rear bar. The trim is still nice and intact. Nothing too major on the back end. The passenger side is actually surprisingly a lot cleaner than the driver's side, obviously because not many people use this side, I presume. There's a little bit of paint fade over here, nothing too major. And there's this same rubber material that's just plastered all over the side of this car. I honestly don't know what it is. In the comments below, could you please tell me what they are? I have no idea. But on the top, still the same paint fade. And then the elephant in the room is this big black left guard. The previous owner told me it came with one. All I can assume is that something happened to this guard and so they had to replace it. But apart from that, that's about it. That's what you could expect from a vehicle of this age. And for the paint condition, it's honestly not bad. If you have a look at my EG, that's a car that's been fully restored and the paint is honestly A+ on that car. But it's a good contrast to see both cars side by side. So definitely take note of the paint condition when buying one of these old Honda Civics. So the second thing that you guys should definitely take note about when you're buying one of these old Honda Civics is the health of the engine. For it being just so darn old, you don't really know how it's been looked after throughout its years. Most of these cars have done hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kilometers or miles, depending on where you live, and there might not be any service documents or history that come with the car. So for example, this car has done 270,000 kilometers on it. However, it does have logbook service history. It doesn't go up all the way to 270,000. So there's about no history for the past 5 years on the motor of this car. So whether or not you're buying a D series Honda Civic EG or EK, or you're buying a B series EK4 or an EG6, you should really take note of the engine health because it could be missing compression, it could be misfiring, it could be leaking bucket loads of oil, it could be burning oil, or the motor could just be blown and you're going to have to rebuild it. So it's really important to have a closer look and inspect the motor. It's advised, if you can, do a compression test to see how it's currently running. And best yet is to probably drive the car. So if your motor is in good working order and it's drivable, the best thing that you guys can do to preserve the health of the engine moving forward is a full major service. That's typically done every 10 years or 100,000 kilometers. And if you don't know when the motor was last done for a major service, I'd recommend you do it as soon as possible. So apart from the major service, all the other things that you guys are going to need to take note of is just the minor service intervals. So I would change my oil personally every 3,000 kilometers. It depends on what you guys would prefer for your car. I like to just keep things nice and fresh. And obviously, if your motor is not working, you can definitely swap it for another D series engine, or you can replace it with a B series, or in other cases, a K swap like my EG over there. It just depends on what you want out of your Honda Civic. But there's a lot of different applications in how you can modify your car to make it a track monster or just a daily driving commuter car. And so with this particular EK4, it's pretty much a stock standard engine. The only modifications are the pod filter over there, and that's fully exposed. You could potentially get a little bit of heat soak, being that it is, and if water gets in, that's not too good for the engine either. I've also got a yellow strut brace. I don't know why it's yellow, but I guess it helps to improve the handling of this car. It's a fully stock motor, and that's what I really like about it. It's really nice and dry throughout the entire engine. It just means that the car has been driven, it's been looked after, and the seals have been changed. All the engine mounts as well are intact. They don't need any replacing. All the CV joints here in the engine bay are nice and crisp. But the best part about these old school Honda Civics is that it's really easy to work on, and there's really no technology that you need to know about when you're working on these cars. So it's just as easy as fixing it and you're good to go. So that's about it for the engine. Let's dive into other issues that you guys are going to come across when buying these old Civics. Welcome to the interior of the Honda Civic. As you can see, it's pretty bare bones in here, and that's one of the third issues as to why buying a Honda Civic is probably a bad idea. There's not a whole lot in here. It's pretty Spartan. It's essentially just the steering wheel, the gear stick, whether it be it automatic or manual, and the pedals. In most cases, in the standard versions of the Honda Civic, there are literally no creature comforts in the car whatsoever. Whether you're buying an ED, EF, EG, or an EK, they usually don't come with aircon. It depends whether or not it was optioned from factory. So it really just depends on the owner when they opted for it 25 plus years ago. And in all of these base model cars, they have manual wind-up windows. And in some of these cars, they also didn't come with a tachometer. So if you're driving a manual Honda Civic base model, there's going to be no tacho, so you're not going to know exactly when to shift. Obviously, you're going to be able to tell based on the engine sound, but it's very basic in those cars. In all of the Honda Civics, they don't come with central locking, so it's usually just the case of putting the key in the door and opening it. And that's the same situation for the passenger side. It is a little bit fiddly if you're not used to it, but if you are, it's pretty simple, but it's just something that you guys are gonna definitely have to take note of. Most of these cars though do have aftermarket central locking systems, so you can just hit the button and it unlocks the entire car. So that is a really great feature to add in the aftermarket support department for your Honda Civics. However, in this car, it's got it. It just doesn't work. So the driver's door lock actuator doesn't really work, and so I still have to put the key in the door. You do have cup holders in the car in the center here. So does the EG. If you wanted to buy a little bit more of the premium version of the old Honda Civics, you can get the EG5, the EG6, you can get the EK4, which is this car here, and it comes with a little bit more fruit. So you get the sunroof. Sometimes you get different seats. In the EG6, you definitely got a better seat. Same as the EK4, you've got the confetti seats, as you can see here, which offer a little bit more bolstering and support when you're driving it. However, still not really the greatest. It's no bucket seat, and it's nothing like the EK9 Recaros or the DC2 Recaros. The driver's door does have an automatic window, not the passenger side, and only for the premium model. So if you bought the base model Civic, you won't have that feature. There's rain sensing wipers that work quite effectively. There's no Bluetooth, sat-nav, navigation. It's still a very basic car when it comes down to it. And there's really no creature comfort, so none of these cars have cruise control. You've got aircon as standard now. In my particular car though, I have a little bit of an upgrade. It's got the facelift double din head unit system. However, it doesn't have a head unit. The previous owner took it out, so I'm definitely gonna have to fit in my own head unit, but that's a really good bonus, and all of the wiring and ballasts are actually fitted to this car, so I can just plug in my double din and it's pretty much good to go. So I'm really stoked about having that feature. You've got the standard EK steering wheel, which is very big, and it's wrapped with that leather trim around it, and I'm not too sure why. I don't really want to look under there. It could be just filthy, worn out, and just a yucky experience. So I'm just gonna leave that on till I get possibly a new steering wheel in this car. You've got the 5-speed manual transmission S4C gearbox, which is nice in here, the 3 pedals at the front, the handbrake system, and that's got a carbon fiber plastic trim there. I've left this car exactly the way I got it, and so you can see there's a air freshener there, one where the cup holders are as well. And it's just a little bit messy and dirty in here. I think it smells kind of funny as well. So I don't know who has sat in this car. I don't know what's happened in this car, but it's definitely a little bit, At the roof of this thing is something that honestly blows my mind. Yes, it's got the sunroof, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's got a rose wrapped roof liner and it's red, and I'm definitely going to get rid of it in future videos, so definitely stay tuned for that, because I don't know why on earth they do that. I get if the roof liner sags you're going to replace it, but why replace it to this rose themed roof? Let's talk about the other issues with the Honda Civic. Now, the last issue that you'll probably encounter when buying one of these old Honda Civics is related to the suspension, and most notably the bushing on these cars. As they were typically used as daily drivers to get from point A to point B, nobody really looked after those finer details when it came to these vehicles. It was normally just about the engine, and so over time, over the course of 25 plus years, the bushes tend to wear out. The reason we buy these cars is because they're fun to drive, and if the bushes are not up to date and they're old, worn out, brittle, or they're just non-existent. The driving experience in one of these Honda Civics is just not the same at all. So I definitely pay attention to all the bushes around the car, and most notably the rear trailing arm bushes that connect to the rear wheels here. And regarding the bushes for my particular Honda Civic EK4, I've been very lucky enough to buy a car from someone that actually looks after their car, and so all of the bushes have actually been changed except for one. And that's the rear sway bar link bushes, and honestly, they're not even there. It's just completely gone, and it's just attached by a cable tie, but I've got a set coming to replace that completely. And so if you're looking to buy one of these cars, I definitely recommend purchasing it from someone that is actually really and genuinely into their vehicle, and someone that's gonna properly look after it. It's really gonna help in the long run. Now, apart from the bushes, you'll also have to pay close attention to the OEM factory suspension if your car is still fitted with that, because it's probably on its way out, it's probably blown, and it'll need a full replacement. So I'd recommend putting in a set of aftermarket coilovers. It'll really help enhance the overall performance and drivability of your car, with the added bonus of adjusting the height and obviously the center of gravity for the car. So this car has a set of BCBR coilovers. I'm not entirely sure as to the health and condition of the coilovers, but I mean, the car is still drivable, it's lowered, and it looks a treat. So I'm gonna keep using them till I make any further upgrades to the coilover system. But as you can see, it's tastefully lowered on a set of NK Circuit Racing 7-spoke wheels, and I think it really complements the overall silver paintwork on this car. It's also got a set of Momo tires on the back, and another random brand of tires at the front, which are 205 45/16, but I definitely got to change those tires. They're on its way out. Tires make a world of a difference for improving the drivability and the handling of these cars, so I can't wait to get that addressed with this Honda Civic. So with all of those things said and done, guys, I honestly don't think that any of the problems or issues related to these old Honda Civics are necessarily deal breakers to owning a car like this, because you know what? At the end of the day, they're really affordable, they're so much fun to drive, and honestly, I just can't get enough of them. I've been dying to add another one to the stable, and with this EK4, I honestly can't wait to embark on this new project. It's something that's rough around the edges, and I can just take out and enjoy it for what it is. And on the other hand, I've got my fully restored Honda Civic EG, which is just a showpiece, and I just love that for everything that it represents. So whatever car that you want to go buy, whether it's a base model, ED, EK, they're just epic platforms, and you're just gonna have a ball of a time. Let me know what your favorite generation is of the Honda Civic. So if you guys have enjoyed the video or learned something new, please go ahead and smash that like button. In the comments below, tell me what you want to see done to the EK4, because I want to know what you guys reckon. And as well as that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Please take care. Bye for now.